production planning, maintenance planning. There is a connection in this story. Spending money protecting the aeroplane is absolutely money well spent. Compared with, in 3 or 4 years' time, doing a huge repair because of corrosion, there's no comparison between the two costs. Okay, maintenance planning is also responsible. Maintenance planning, not production planning. ADs, operational directives, anything to do with continuing airworthiness. Measures mandated by the competent authority in immediate reaction to a safety problem. In fact, we have to jump to the regulator's tune, whatever they say. They can tell us before the next flight, perform the following inspection, we have to do it, and it has to be duly certified, and so on and so on. That's the background. And of course, modifications and repairs. In respect of repairs, often during a maintenance check, we will have the need for a repair. We have, for example, some corrosion. When we try to remove the corrosion, we find out that actually we're not going to be able to remove the corrosion, and we have to cut out a piece and repair it. And then we look and we see it's outside the SRM. So there is a repair that has to be managed. That will take time, and it needs to be approved. And the owner of the aeroplane needs to accept the repair. And so we've got to be careful, because often there is a range of repairs that we can make. For example, we can make let's call it a scab patch. So we're putting a plate on the outside or covering it. It's ugly, it's airworthy, and it's not the only solution. We could also put an insert repair where it's flush and smooth. It's going to be more expensive, it takes longer, and whether we do one or the other is the decision of the operator, not the maintainer. So we've got to make sure that we act as a communication focal, production planning guys. One of the most important things that production planning can do is to ensure communication around the business. And when we look, for example, at maintenance error and human factor error, the biggest shortfall that we see is communication. And we will, later on, we will talk about some issues with communication. But absolutely, the highest occurrence of human factor related issues in the maintenance environment concerns communication. And so using production planning to bring the communication process to a success is very worthwhile. Let me give you an idea. There is a maintenance check going on, and how do we hand over? So, well, we have a handover book, okay, but do you have local handovers? For example, does the guys working on the engines hand over to the guys working on the engines? Yeah, yes, we do that. We have local area handover, and then we have control room handover. And the production planning guys work in the control room, okay? So, are the production planning guys involved in the handover? Not really. They may hand over, production planning guys may hand over to production planning guys, but they don't pay attention to the handover. Okay, so there's an issue. The issue is that the production planning guys are disconnected from the handover. The next thing is, when you look at these handovers, you'll see there's a big variability. The guy on the engine, for example, his writing is like script from the 16th century. It's fabulous. The guy who is in the cargo compartment, he looks like it's a spider with dyslexia, and everything in between. And so we realised we don't actually have a company standard. And so what I saw, which was very nice, was a document, which is a handover document. It was actually done on A3, and it's very easy to fill in, and you're identifying what issues have to be handed over in terms of manpower issues, tooling issues, documentation issues, and of course any other issues. But you're actually giving people guidance on what's expected. And what was nice is that all them documents were copied and retained by production planning, because production planning kept a running record of all these zonal handovers, because they were using it to map and manage the overall process. And when we talk about critical path, we will understand some of the challenges and why aircraft go late. And if we're looking at costing, an aeroplane on the ground depends on the aeroplane type, is somewhere between about 10,000 euros and 25 to 30,000 euros for every 1 hour. So if an aeroplane is 3 days late and it's not in service for 3 days, you get an idea of how much we're losing. Lots of money. And then you start thinking, so why is the aeroplane late? Well, it was late because we were waiting for these bits. Okay? Why were we waiting for these bits? Because we didn't order them until this time. Okay? Why did we order them this time and not earlier? And of course, there's an answer for everything. And you work your way back up the timeline because, because. And what we've got to do is we've got to understand what's driving this timeline, and we've got to manage our critical path so that we work through it. Okay. So within the maintenance program, we have the details of the maintenance to be carried out, and of course we need a reliability program as well. Not to go into this too much more detail. Maintenance program has to be reviewed, and any maintenance instructions need to be accommodated. And with this story of AD and the need to ensure compliance, one of the challenges we have, and we'll talk about it later, is the variability. Because when we're trying to plan our manpower in the most effective way, when we have unknowns, it causes issues. The unknowns create problems. We don't know how long it's going to take the service bulletin, we don't know how long it's going to take the AD. An owner or operator shall ensure that a system has been established to keep the following records. Now, we use the term here, aircraft continuing airworthiness records. And we're not talking about all records, we're talking about certain records. Because when we talk about the 145, and we say the 145 has to keep records for 3 years, then we're talking about everything. When we talk about the continuing airworthiness records, we're talking about a specific number of records, some of which need to be kept even after the aeroplane is no longer in service. 1 year after the aeroplane's no longer in service, you still need to have records of life-limited components, providing they're fitted on the aircraft, and so on and so on. So we need to draw a distinction. And for example, the maintenance program requires a C-check. The C-check work package is printed. The work package goes to the 145 organisation, and they perform the inspections in accordance with the requirements of the C-check, and they raise defect cards. And the defect cards require fix this, change this, replace this, remove surface corrosion, so on and so on and so on. All that information is not continuing airworthiness records. And so, after 3 years, it can be discarded by the 145. They can throw it away. So we've got to be careful. This is compliant with the EASA. We've got to be careful what we do with our records. And my message is that there are 3 sets of independent reasons why you will keep the records. The first one is the leasing company. The leasing company have a set of requirements that we have to comply with. The second one is the legal department of the organisation. What does your lawyer say? What does your company lawyer say regarding record retention? And the third one is, what do we have to do to keep EASA sweet? And the reality is that keeping EASA sweet is actually the easy one. And if all we do is keep EASA sweet, we could cause a problem in some of the other areas. For example, according to EASA, we only have to keep the aircraft tech log for 36 months. And at the end of that, we can throw it away, which is all very well, when the leasing company's put in a contract that you must keep the tech log for the duration of the lease. So we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention as a Part M organisation, and we need to pay attention as a 145. I will work on your aircraft. What do you want me to do with the records? I can A, copy them and give you all of the records, which is what some companies do. I can B, give you the continuing airworthiness records and look after all other records for the duration of the lease. I can C, comply with the EASA. What do you want me to do? And one company said, oh well, comply with the EASA, that has to be okay. Yeah, okay, fine. And then 5 years later, they said, we've sold the aeroplane, can we have the records? Yes, no problem, there you go. Well, this is just 3 years. Yes. So, you've been looking after my aeroplane for 5 years? Yes. So where's the records? That's it. But the first 2 years, we threw them away. You throw my records away. You said comply with the EASA. We throw them away. Big story and very expensive. So we need to pay attention.